I bought gifts to take to my parents for Lunar New Year, and my husband got mad. You buy them something every single month. You spend way too much. I make more than you. You earn less but spend more. That's not fair. From now on, let's split everything 50-50. I agreed without hesitation and laid down 3 rules. Separate bedrooms. Each person supports their own parents, and he pays me for cooking and housework. A year later, my paycheck-to-paycheck husband got on his knees and apologized. I was wrong. Can we scrap those rules? I smiled and handed him the divorce papers. I think we're better off making the split permanent. My husband, Jiangguo Wang, stared at the Lunar New Year gifts stacked against the wall. He frowned. Do you really need all that for your parents? His interrogating tone rubbed me the wrong way, but I patiently explained. Deep breath, everything's going to be fine. I treated both families equally. I bought exactly the same gifts for yours and mine. In 3 years of marriage, I'd never favored one family over the other. Even that wasn't good enough for Jiangguo. Jiangguo sneered at me. I make over 10,000 a month, and you barely take home 7. Why should your family get the same gifts as mine? Why should my extra income be averaged out? You earn less, but spend more. How is that fair? That little speech left me choking back my anger. We're talking about a few holiday gifts. Did he really have to make it a federal case? Were we ranking people in our own home by income now? When I stayed silent, Jiangguo kept going. My mom has brought this up several times, but I never paid much attention. Now I see you really haven't been considerate. So, to keep things fair, we'll split every expense 50-50. Spend your income however you want. I won't ask questions. I stared at Jiangguo in disbelief. Was this really coming from the man I'd shared a bed with for 3 years? Clearly, he'd resented our household spending for a long time, and I'm sure my mother-in-law had been whispering in his ear. I didn't hesitate for a second. Fine, 50-50 it is. But we'd better set some ground rules and make everything crystal clear. Jiangguo hadn't expected me to agree so quickly. His face lit up. He nodded eagerly. Yes, exactly. Better to spell it all out so neither of us feels cheated. All this resentment over routine expenses? I calmly started listing the details. Starting today, we sleep in separate rooms. Utilities and building fees are split evenly, and each of us supports our own parents. Wash your own underwear and socks. If you want me to cook or do laundry, you pay extra. And my meals cost at least 50 yuan per person. If I'm doing all the housework, you pay me 3,000 yuan a month. I'd barely named a few prices before Jiangguo lost it. He shot to his feet. 3,000? For a little housework? I leaned back on the couch and gave him a cool look. A housekeeper would cost at least 5,000 a month. You can clean your own room and I'll ignore the rest. Or save your money and wash dishes, sweep, and mop every day, then dust every piece of furniture and decor once a week. Before I could finish, Jiangguo cut me off impatiently. Fine, I'll pay you, okay? I smirked. If I didn't make this hurt a little, he'd keep treating me like free labor. I pointed at the gifts by the wall. I bought these with my salary. Buy your own gifts for your family. On Lunar New Year's Eve, we showed up at his parents' house empty-handed for the family dinner. Jiangguo walked in, dropped onto the couch, and started scrolling on his phone. So I did exactly the same. My mother-in-law's face fell immediately. Your manners get worse every year. Showing up empty-handed on New Year's Eve? Who do you think you are, some kind of princess? Every previous visit, I'd taken over the chores. On New Year's Eve, I would shop early and cook the whole feast while the 3 of them sat around waiting to eat. Now the kitchen was stone cold, and they still expected me to handle it. My father-in-law had a short fuse, and he immediately snapped. Mei Li Zhang. What kind of daughter-in-law acts like this? You don't even understand basic holiday courtesy. I used to think you were good at this, but apparently it was all an act. Now, you won't even pretend. Watching them rage was strangely satisfying. I'd given them everything and never received one kind word. Instead, my mother-in-law criticized every gift I brought. None of this is practical. You have no idea how to manage a home. Jiangguo works hard for his money, and watching you throw it away breaks my heart. You can't even clean properly. A maid would do better. Honestly, I don't know what Jiangguo sees in you. So doing everything only got me criticized? Fine. I do nothing at all. After they finally ran out of insults, I spoke calmly. Mom, Dad, don't blame me. Jiangguo demanded a 50-50 marriage. We agreed that each person supports their own parents and buys their own gifts. We also agreed I'd be paid for housework. So how much is your family paying me to cook tonight's feast? Last year, I booked a table at a 5-star hotel so I could spend New Year's Eve with my parents too. It should have been a joyful reunion for both families, but his parents ruined it. They spent the whole dinner bragging about how successful their son was, all while implying I was living off him. Mei Li, you don't know the first thing about saving money. Why book such an expensive dinner? My mother had already paid for the whole table, so why were they making such a fuss? Worst of all, they even turned New Year's dinner into a lecture about having children. Mei Li, why work overtime for that tiny salary? Jiangguo is the one supporting this family. You barely make anything, so quit. Get healthy, have a baby, and stay home to serve your husband and child. Every word said they looked down on me because I earned less than Jiangguo. I was capable, I loved my job, and I had no reason to make that sacrifice. Worse, Jiangguo actually agreed with them. Don't I pay for everything this household needs? I pay the mortgage too. What difference does your job make? You earn just over 10,000 and already think you're above everyone. You act like my money grows on trees. When his parents heard I wanted payment for cooking, they exploded. His mother unleashed a storm of insults, practically spraying me with every word. Just cook first. I'll pay you later. Do you have to ruin New Year's Eve for everyone? I stayed on the couch, completely unmoved. Payment first, work second. That was the deal. No credit. His mother was about to erupt again, but one icy look from me stopped her cold. Don't you always complain that I spend too much? Go see what groceries cost on New Year's Eve. If we're splitting everything, your family pays for the food too. You care so much about appearances? Let's see how long you can keep them up. Every year, Jungwo's grandparents and his uncle's whole family came for dinner. I deliberately said nothing about groceries because I'd been waiting for this moment. Otherwise, they'd keep enjoying everything at my expense. Do you know how much food costs for this many people? It's already afternoon and nearly every market stall has closed. Where are we supposed to buy anything? Panicking already? I shrugged. I thought Jungwo had told you. We're 50-50 now, so this side of the family isn't my responsibility. I'd never seen parents so comfortable waiting for their children to provide everything. Whenever we visited, they prepared nothing. I didn't expect a hot meal, but they wouldn't even buy groceries. My parents, meanwhile, made all my favorite dishes and sent us home with bags of food. The contrast was heartbreaking. His mother paced around in a panic while I relaxed and played a game. If I hadn't seen her messages with Jungwo 2 days earlier, I wouldn't have ruined their holiday like this. Mom, it's done. From today on, Meili and I are completely 50-50. I never have to worry about her wasting my money again. Finally. I told you that woman only wanted your money. Who knows what expensive things she secretly bought behind your back? Exactly. Good thing you warned me, or I'd never have realized how much she'd taken advantage of me. With her tiny salary, why should her family get the same gifts as ours? They don't deserve them. Reading those messages made my blood boil. I forced down my anger, put his phone back, and said nothing. I was waiting for New Year's Eve to catch them completely off guard. It was time to start dinner, but there wasn't a single vegetable in the house. Jungwo finally panicked and dragged me out. The market was nearly empty, so we tried supermarkets. Every store had closed early, except one expensive international grocery store. I didn't mind. I loaded the cart with everything I wanted to eat. With every item I added, Jungwo's face darkened. Do we really need all this? That's too expensive. Can't you choose something cheaper? Amazing how careful he became when it was his money. In previous years, groceries alone cost me 4 figures, plus imported fruit. Who had ever worried about my wallet? I stopped the cart, folded my arms, and asked, "There are 10 people. Should I make 3 dishes and a soup?" Fine by me. It's not my family that'll look cheap. Nothing in this store is cheap. Even 2 cucumbers cost dozens of yuan. Organic and imported comes at a price. When I served jumbo shrimp, king crab, and grouper, nobody complained about the price. Your father even said I was stingy and hadn't bought enough. Look at this family eating like they haven't seen food in years. A whole cart still wouldn't fill you up. Jungwo clenched his jaw and let me keep shopping. At checkout, I picked up a pack of red envelopes beside the register. Don't forget red envelopes for your parents and grandparents. I usually put 2,000 yuan in each. Oh, and I gave your cousin's child 500. You decide what to do this year. The second I finished, Jungwo froze. Back home, I charged 500 yuan to cook the feast. Jungwo stared at me in shock. Hiring someone to cook an ordinary meal costs 300 yuan. It's a holiday, so this is standard holiday pricing. Jungwo was trapped. Everyone knew his mother's cooking was awful, and a holiday feast had to look presentable. Her culinary disasters were enough to kill anyone's appetite. Grinding his teeth, Jungwo transferred 500 yuan on the spot. I took the money and cooked. After dinner, everyone went to the living room to watch the New Year's gala. I was about to join them when Jungwo grabbed my arm. 15 yuan to wash the dishes. I'll transfer it now. I stopped his hand before he could enter the amount and smiled. 15 is for dishes from 2 people. Look at this mountain of pots and plates. It's several times the work. 100 yuan, or wash them yourself. Jungwo's face darkened again. He pulled me aside and hissed. Meili Zhang, are you obsessed with money now? Every sentence out of your mouth is about getting paid. You're still a daughter-in-law of this family. Shouldn't you do some chores? So I'm family when you need housework, but not when money is involved? You demanded 50-50. You agreed we'd count everything. What happened? Can't handle your own rules? Jungwo's face turned red with anger. Do you have to be this petty? You're charging money to wash dishes in your own home. What's so hard about just doing it? I fired right back. This is your family's home, so why don't you do it? Why order me around? Do I owe your family free labor? I'm done being that stupid. Jungwo took home only 12,000 yuan. He paid 4,000 toward the mortgage on his premarital property, gave me 2,000 for household expenses, and kept the remaining 6,000. I covered utilities, building fees, groceries, cooking, cleaning, and a 1,000 yuan monthly allowance for each set of parents. Every 2 weeks, I visited both families and spent at least 300 yuan on gifts each time. Those were fixed costs before holiday gifts and the tens of thousands I spent on New Year red envelopes. I also paid for all our clothes, shoes, and household supplies. At his parents' home, I was treated like a maid. Yet they still believed I was exploiting them. Why should I pay, work, and still be treated like dirt? Jungwo didn't want the relatives laughing at him, so he reluctantly transferred 100 yuan. The New Year's gala was halfway over. His grandparents were ready to leave because they went to bed early. His mother shot me a meaningful look. Meili, everyone's leaving. Bring out the gifts you prepared. Jungwo's cousin's son ran over too, smiling with both hands out. Auntie, where's my New Year money? Their expectant faces showed how foolish I'd been. Every year, I carefully chose gifts and covered every detail. Jiangguo had a huge extended family, but I never counted the cost. After all that, they still called me wasteful. Fine. They could spend their own money on their own family. I patted the boy's head. From now on, your uncle is responsible for your gifts and New Year money. Ask him. I wanted to see how that family of 3 would escape this mess after preparing absolutely nothing. Every eye turned to Jiangguo. I watched as he rubbed his hands awkwardly, then tried to sweet-talk me. Honey, you're always so thoughtful. You prepared the gifts in red envelopes already, right? Come on, bring them out. My father-in-law fixed me with a sharp stare, trying to intimidate me. Mei Li Jiang. There's a time and place for this behavior. The grandparents are still here. Throwing a tantrum now is incredibly disrespectful. I blinked innocently. We agreed on 50-50, with each person handling their own family. How did this suddenly become my job again? His aunt realized something was wrong. She snorted and said contemptuously, "This is why you must choose a wife carefully. She's only been married a few years, and her true colors are already showing. Qian Qian gave us a grandson, and never acts this arrogant. You can't even have a child, yet you dare give this whole family attitude." That crude, humiliating insult made me furious. Who are you calling a farm animal? Is that what all of you want to be? You're fighting to act like animals instead of decent people. Which year haven't you come here to eat for free? Your whole family brings 1 carton of milk and nothing else. You even order sea cucumber, abalone, and fish maw. I used to let it slide, but I'm done. Every New Year's Eve, your family eats and drinks, takes the gifts and red envelopes, then leaves me a mountain of dishes. You take everything and still criticize me. I paid for every gift in past years. This year, you're getting nothing. I'd tolerated that uncle's shameless family for years. Even my mother-in-law complained about her brother behind his back, though she acted friendly to his face. I had paid to help her keep up appearances. Now I'd finally said what I wanted, and it felt wonderful. My mother-in-law hated that. She glared and jabbed a finger inches from my face. How dare you talk to an elder like that? Even if you're fighting with Jiangguo, don't attack everyone like a rabid dog. Everything you eat, wear, and spend comes from Jiangguo's hard-earned money. What are you so proud of? You've lived off him for too long. He asked for 50-50, so you got angry and ruined New Year's Eve for everyone, didn't you? That wasn't entirely wrong, but 50-50 was only the spark. I treated his family incredibly well for years, yet because I earned less than Jiangguo, they treated me as inferior. Even when I cared for everyone perfectly, they still said, "It's all Jiangguo's money." What a wasteful wife. My salary wasn't huge, but I invested and co-owned a nail and beauty studio with my best friend. If I'd relied only on my salary, how could I have funded his family for years? I kept quiet to protect Jiangguo's pride because tracking every cent in a marriage felt pointless. Then Jiangguo started keeping score and his whole family accused me of exploiting him. I gave a cold laugh. Jiangguo gives me only 2,000 yuan a month, which doesn't even cover groceries and necessities. Don't you know how much I give you too every month? Haven't you seen everything I bring each visit? As Jiangguo's wife, I'm happy to support you, but every cent came from my money. Be honest. Who has been taking advantage of whom? Everyone fell silent, but his mother still stood there with her hands on her hips, full of arrogance. Our Jiangguo pays the mortgage. You moved in without paying a cent, so of course you should spend money on our family. She made it sound like I was homeless and her son had rescued me. She'd said the same thing many times. To protect the family's image, I'd always smiled and stayed quiet. Maybe that made her feel superior. Today, I was taking her down a peg. Jiangguo bought this 2-bedroom apartment before marriage. You were afraid I'd take a share in a divorce, so you insisted he pay the mortgage alone. Correct? Her eyes flickered. Our family paid for it. Why should you get any of it? Is that why you're deliberately fighting Jiangguo? He married you and gave you a home so you don't have to rent. What more could you possibly want? This was getting absurd. Keep listening, and I'd become a helpless drifter rescued by her son. My mother-in-law loved bragging and couldn't stand being looked down on. I was about to rip off that mask and humiliate her. Before I married, my parents bought me 2 homes outright, both bigger than this place. Drop the Charity Act. I suggested living in one, but you refused because you feared people would say Jiangguo married into my family. I was too accommodating, and you started acting like I paid for the privilege of begging to marry your son. I made a spreadsheet of everything Jiangguo and I had spent during our marriage. Let's post it in the family chat and let everyone judge. I'd stayed up making that spreadsheet the night Jiangguo demanded 50-50. I had contributed far more, yet they treated me like a thief. I couldn't swallow that insult, so I prepared the evidence. By then, I'd already lost all hope in Jiangguo. You need to post such a tiny disagreement in the family chat? Aren't you embarrassed? The chat included everyone present, another uncle living far away, 2 aunts and all their sons, daughters, spouses, and partners, 20 or 30 people in total. I wanted everyone to know, so I didn't care whether his family was embarrassed. Before his father finished speaking, I posted the spreadsheet. Everyone checked their phones. I quickly typed 2 lines. To all our relatives, Jiangguo says I spend too much and have taken advantage of him for 3 years, so he now demands a 50-50 marriage. Here's what each of us has spent during those 3 years. Please take a look. Anyone reading the spreadsheet could see who contributed more. I wasn't demanding perfect equality. I was furious that they accused me of freeloading. I expected someone to acknowledge the facts, but his entire family immediately closed ranks. Second uncle, a married couple should resolve their problems in private. Second aunt, a woman should be gentle and virtuous. Being right doesn't mean you should be so aggressive. First aunt, once you're married, you're one family. Even 10 fingers aren't the same length. Isn't keeping score this closely exhausting? Other aunt, a man should marry a virtuous woman. Turning a tiny issue into chaos on New Year's Eve brings bad luck to everyone. I almost laughed from anger. When Jang-go supposedly spent more, I was a freeloader. Once the spreadsheet showed I spent more, I was suddenly petty and foolish for giving too much. This family had double standards down to an art. They chose to stand against me, so I stopped playing nice. I tagged them one by one in the family group chat. Auntie, I covered Uncle's hospital bill when he was discharged. Think it's time you paid me back, don't you? My older cousin borrowed 20,000 yuan last year for her kids' classes. Were you planning to never pay me back? And you borrowed 100,000 yuan for a car, promising 3,000 a month. Why did the payment stop after just a few months? That did it. The group chat went dead silent. My scorched earth move humiliated the whole family. Before my in-laws could explode, I spoke first. Jang-go gives me only 2,000 yuan a month. Our basic household expenses already eat that up, so there is no spare money to lend relatives. Nobody's money grows on trees. I wasn't going to keep paying out of pocket while they mocked me behind my back. Family or not, debts are debts. So quit playing dumb and pay back what you owe. If you can't pay now, write an IOU with a repayment date. I held firm and left no room for negotiation. My father-in-law's chest heaved as he pointed a trembling finger at me. You are completely out of line. My mother-in-law rubbed his chest, trying to calm him down. Even then, she still found time to insult me. Is that any way to speak to your elders? Jang-go has always been careless. Who knows if he gave you more than the fixed 2,000? With your pathetic salary, how could you lend anyone that much? You made it all up, didn't you? They were embarrassed, so now they claimed I'd invented everything. Jang-go's aunt looked like she'd found an ally. She shouted, "Your word proves nothing. Show us the IOUs. You think we'll admit it just because you said so? We're not pushovers." I had trusted them as family, so I never asked for IOUs. I never imagined they could be this shameless, smiling and begging when they borrowed, then denying everything when repayment came due. I looked at Jang-go. When Uncle was discharged, didn't they ask us to pick him up? The nurse said he had no insurance and couldn't leave until the bill was paid. Auntie asked us to cover it, and I paid only after you agreed. Remember? I laid out every detail so everyone would know the truth. But one sharp look from his mother made Jang-go lower his head and avoid my eyes. He stammered, "That was so long ago, I don't really remember." I nearly cursed on the spot. Of course he didn't care, it wasn't his money. He got to play the hero for his relatives. So much for husband and wife being a team. My mother-in-law shot me a smug look. See? Jang-go says it never happened, so stop lying. Are you jealous he didn't spend the money on you? We're blood. We'll always stand together. Wives can be replaced, family is forever. She smugly declared her claim over him. Every relative, even Jang-go's grandparents, stood behind her looking united and pleased with themselves. What a perfectly organized little mob. Then his aunt decided to play peacemaker. She linked arms with me like we were best friends. Why keep score with family? Aren't you afraid karma will get you? Just treat the money as a good deed. I pulled my arm away and scoffed. People who refuse to repay debts aren't afraid of karma. Why should I be? Don't think the lack of IOUs lets you deny everything. I have plenty of proof. I rapidly posted several screenshots of our chats in the family group. Jang-go, honey, thank you for covering Uncle's hospital bill. I'll bring home your favorite cake after work. Older cousin, Mei-li, Leilei's English class fee is due. I'm unemployed and my husband's pay was cut. The child shouldn't suffer. Could you lend me 20,000 yuan? Leilei will thank you. Older male cousin, Jang-go, I found a great car and my old sedan won't do anymore. Can you lend me 100,000 when you two don't have many expenses anyway? Jang-go, honey, my cousin has it rough. Could you ask your parents for the money? He promised 3,000 a month, he won't default. And that wasn't all. I had transfer records and the hospital card payment. I wanted to see how they could deny that. The entire family turned pale with embarrassment. I gave a cold laugh. You can't call this fabricated. Borrowed money gets repaid or this isn't over. His aunt stared at me in disbelief. She sneered. You barely earn anything. Where did all that money come from? I've heard some married women become mistresses for a better life. If you can lend that much, you must have plenty saved. Why collect debts during the holidays? I slapped her across the face. Who are you calling a mistress? Just because you stay home and can't earn money doesn't mean you can smear me. However much I have, you don't get to scam me. Watch your mouth. You had another child and bought a new car with borrowed money, then insulted me instead of repaying it. Want me to call the police? Seeing his wife get slapped, Jang-go's uncle rushed at me. I grabbed a fork from the table. You're bigger than me. Touch me and this fork is going for your eye. It'll be self-defense. Try me if you dare. I finally saw the truth. This family planned to deny everything, even with proof right in front of them. My mother-in-law snapped. Mei-li, it's New Year's. Are you determined to tear this family apart? Jang-go must have been blind to marry you. You're a disgrace, and the Wang family doesn't want you. Even after all that, she still acted superior, as if marrying her son were the greatest blessing of my life. I set down the fork and answered coldly, "Don't worry. I don't want to stay in this shameless family either. After the holiday, I'm suing every one of you. Think carefully about what comes next. Cousin, is business going well? Want some free publicity about borrowing 100,000 yen for a flashy car you can't afford? Auntie, didn't you brag your son-in-law bought a home in a major city? Why couldn't he pay his father-in-law's hospital bill? And cousin couldn't afford her kids' class? Yet she could vacation in Hong Kong and Macau and show off designer bags. Your whole family treated me like an ATM because I was nice. The internet loves stories like this. Maybe I'll show everyone exactly how shameless you are." They had mistaken my kindness for weakness. If they were truly struggling, I would have understood. But they deliberately borrowed money, refused to repay it, and treated me like a fool. My father-in-law put on his head of the household act and lectured me. "Since when does a woman run this family? Jianguo spoiled you and now you're arrogant. So what if you transferred the money? It's marital property, and half belongs to him. He can spend his share however he wants." The whole circus suddenly saw a way out. They nodded eagerly, agreeing with him. "Exactly! It's marital property. Jianguo can spend it however he likes. Stop being controlling. Go ahead and sue. We're not scared." I smiled and picked up my phone and bag. "Fine, you said it. When offices reopen, I'm going to court. And one more thing, I borrowed that money from a friend and signed an IOU. If it isn't repaid, it counts as marital debt for both Jianguo and me. Luckily, my business partner sent me my share of our shop's profits, so the bank records were clear. We could formalize the loan paperwork later." Sure enough, Jianguo frowned. He berated me in front of everyone. "Mei Li, haven't you caused enough trouble? It's New Year's and you're throwing your weight around at home. Did you ever consider my feelings?" My feelings? Seriously? After everything his family had done, he still had the nerve to say that. I looked at him coldly. "When you demanded we split everything 50-50 and kept satisfying your family's requests for loans, did you consider my feelings? In our marriage, he always put himself and his family first. I gave them my whole heart and got no respect or love in return. Why keep suffering?" I left the Wang house, returned to Jianguo's 2-bedroom apartment, packed everything, and went to my parents' home. At a red light, I watched fireworks bloom outside as tears slipped down my face. Taking 3 years to see someone's true colors wasn't entirely a bad thing. My parents looked heartbroken when I arrived with luggage on New Year's Eve. They hurried to make my bed, cook dumplings, and warm food, but asked no questions. Jianguo came early the next morning. My parents treated him coldly. He apologized like a desperate man and finally made it into my room. I got straight to the point. "When will your relatives repay me? Until they do, you and I have nothing to discuss." Jianguo smiled and tried to sweet-talk me. "Honey, we always visit my boss for New Year's. It's getting late. Let's go." So that was why he'd come. I thought he'd finally understood. Jianguo worked for a public institution and knew how to flatter his superiors. He was competent and had a decent reputation, even selling himself as a devoted husband after we married. His traditional boss valued family, and the boss's wife liked me. Jianguo was up for a promotion, so he needed me beside him to keep up the happy marriage act. I'd planned to divorce him immediately, but why should years of my money vanish? For 3 years, he gave me almost nothing while hiding his own savings and living comfortably. So I pretended we'd reconciled and joined the visit. After the holiday, I filed lawsuits against every relative who owed me money. "Jianguo, tell those ungrateful relatives I wasn't bluffing. If you don't want this affecting your job, make them repay me." I don't know what he told them, but within days I got my money. Jianguo was promoted and got a raise, yet he couldn't enjoy it. I enforced the 50-50 arrangement ruthlessly, charging even for a glass of water. I cooked healthy, balanced meals for his benefit. After a year of watching his paycheck disappear, Jianguo begged for mercy. "Honey, I was wrong. I'll give you 5,000 yen a month. Let's stop splitting everything 50-50, and I don't want separate bedrooms anymore." Calmly, I pulled out the divorce agreement I'd prepared long ago. "Let's separate completely. Our written rules say the money I received this year isn't marital property. It's mine alone, and you can't demand it back. From now on, I'll keep my money and enjoy it myself." Jianguo stared at the agreement. He couldn't believe the once obedient wife before him was leaving just as his career was taking off. "Mei Li, you're joking, right? This year has been good. Are you still angry over those old debts? I promised you 5,000 a month. I'll never suggest anything so stupid again. Give me one more chance. Tear up the agreement and I'll do whatever you say." I looked at his calculating face and felt nothing. Do you think 5,000 yen is charity? Do you think I'm still that easy to fool? Every second this year, I planned how to reclaim what was mine. Your apology is just damage control, not remorse. I've spoken to a lawyer. Sign, or I'll file for divorce in court. When my mother-in-law heard, she rushed to the city with bags of gifts. She entered in tears, saying Jianguo was successful now, and I didn't appreciate my good fortune. "Mei Li, how has our family mistreated you? That money was repaid. Don't be selfish. A man works hard on his career. You should be more understanding. If he's struggling so much, come serve him yourself. I won't stay another day. Remember when he gave me only 2,000 yen for living expenses? You cheered while he calculated every penny and accused me of marrying for money. Now he's promoted. You want me back as a free maid. Even a cleaner gets paid." I left her speechless. All she could do was point at me and call me heartless. When she failed, Jungwoo tried appealing to my parents. He arrived with gifts, dropped to his knees, and tearfully apologized. Mom, Dad, I was blind and let my mother's twisted ideas mislead me. I know I was wrong. I can't live without Mei-Li. Please convince her to take me back. My father looked at his former son-in-law and threw every gift into the hallway. Jungwoo, when my daughter married you and helped financially, we treated you with respect. You repaid her by joining your family and bullying her. Now that she won't fall for it, you're trying to fool us too. Leave. Even if Mei-Li stays single forever, she's never going back to that hell. Jungwoo stood humiliated in the hallway as the neighbors whispered and pointed. My lawsuits caused chaos throughout his extended family. Auntie and my older cousin called Jungwoo dozens of times a day to rant. Jungwoo, your wife is insane. She actually took us to court and humiliated us. What kind of husband can't control his wife? A woman like that will ruin your family. Their endless drama consumed Jungwoo. He lost focus at meetings, and the control over his family he'd once prized collapsed. He thought splitting everything 50-50 would protect his money. Instead, it destroyed his marriage. With my lawyer, I formally filed for divorce and property division. I had records for every service payment he'd sent me that year. Legally, they were voluntary compensation, not shared marital property. I stopped answering Jungwoo and poured myself into expanding my nail studio. Great management and attentive service brought booming business. I rented a larger shop in an upscale district, and many executives' wives I knew became regulars. While getting their nails done, they mentioned Jungwoo. He was exhausted, making mistakes, and had been formally reprimanded. His expected promotion was put on hold because his home life had become a public mess. I listened while trimming nails with steady hands. I felt nothing. A man's career often rests on a stable home. He tore down his own foundation, so he had to face the consequences. No one waits forever for someone who refuses to change. Jungwoo's home became a disaster. Dirty clothes piled up. When I lived there, it was spotless and hot meals waited on the table. Now he came home to a cold kitchen and takeout boxes everywhere. He tried doing the chores and discovered how exhausting they were. He hired a cleaner who demanded 4,000 won a month. Only then did he realize my old price of 3,000 had included a family discount. He stared at the empty bedroom in regret, but even that regret was selfish. He didn't mourn breaking my heart. He mourned losing a cheap maid. Then his mother called demanding money for a relative's gift. Jungwoo angrily hung up. A mediator arranged a meeting and tried to get Jungwoo to sign the divorce agreement. The moment he saw me, he tried to grab my hand, but my lawyer politely blocked him. Mei-Li, can we talk alone? I'll give you my entire paycheck. My mother controlled me before, but I'll never listen to her again. Let's start over. I sat down and calmly slid a list across the table, every transfer he'd made that year. Jungwoo, this totals 68,000 won, all payment I earned this year. Your apartment was bought before marriage, but I am entitled to a share of the mortgage paid during it. If you want to keep the property, pay me that share at today's market value in one lump sum. Jungwoo went pale. He'd expected me to show mercy and let him pay less. Back home, Auntie cursed me in the family chat over the lawsuit. Some relatives even planned to storm my studio and pressure me into dropping the case. They barely reached the entrance before mall security, and several large guards stopped them. I'd hired professional security to protect my staff. I walked out smiling to face the mob. Auntie, the judgment is coming soon. Refuse to pay and you'll face penalties. Your actions could even damage your children's reputations. That instantly silenced her. People like them care most about appearances, and I'd found exactly where it hurt. I smiled coldly. Jungwoo taught me well. He showed me that even family must settle their debts. Jungwoo finally gave in. He realized refusing to sign could cost him his job. His boss had privately asked, "If you can't manage your own home, how can we trust you with greater responsibility?" That finished him. Outside the civil affairs office, Jungwoo signed with a trembling hand. I received my share of the settlement and felt completely free. As we left, Jungwoo asked if I'd ever marry again. I put on my sunglasses, looked toward the bright sky, and waved without turning back. Unless I know someone truly loves me, I'd rather live freely on my own. Jungwoo stood on the steps, watching me leave with regret. The first New Year after our divorce, I took my parents on a Long Island vacation abroad. No in-law obligations, endless dishes, or red envelopes. As I sunbathed and watched my parents smile again, every sacrifice felt worthwhile. Freedom tasted wonderful. Back in the city, Jungwoo had a miserable holiday. His mother invited the relatives who'd owed me money to dinner, supposedly to repair the family bond. The moment Auntie arrived, she blamed Jungwoo for failing to keep his wife. Then everyone fought over who should pay for groceries. His mother asked Auntie to contribute, but she claimed repayment had drained her family. Jungwoo stared at the sad leftovers, feeling sick as he remembered the lavish holiday meals I used to prepare. That year, I opened 2 more studios and became a business owner. I began helping single mothers find work and offered them skills training. At a charity gala, I met a refined executive from an international company. He admired my talent and confidence, and we clicked, but I kept a polite distance. I was no longer the girl who'd sacrifice everything for love. I learned to protect myself. When my parents hinted at marriage, I said my life already had purpose. I depended on no one, managed no one's emotions. and controlled my own future. That was real wealth. Jungguo went on several blind dates. One attractive woman focused on his job, demanded control of his salary after marriage, and planned to leave him only 500 yen a month. Jungguo blurted, "That's unfair. We should split everything 50-50. She threw her iced coffee in his face and cursed him. "A man like you deserves to stay single forever. If you want an unpaid maid, go home and dream about one." Jungguo wiped coffee from his face as everyone stared in disgust. He realized there had only been one woman foolish enough to love him wholeheartedly, and he'd pushed her towards someone else. I bought an apartment in an upscale downtown community and moved my parents in. It was elegant and modern, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. My balcony was full of plants and life felt rich and complete. In our old apartment, I barely bought decorations I liked. I feared his mother would visit and complain that I wasted money and couldn't manage a home. Now I could decorate however I wanted and buy clothes I loved. Living without watching anyone else's mood made me shine. One day, I ran into Jungguo's aunt carrying discounted groceries at the mall. She tried to avoid me, but I cheerfully greeted her and even handed her a beauty studio trial voucher. Jungguo's promotion ultimately vanished because his reputation at work had collapsed. The new deputy director, a decisive woman who despised men who exploited their wives, made his work miserable. He considered quitting, but the mortgage and expenses trapped him in a hopeless, ordinary life. He tried checking my updates but found himself blocked. Through mutual friends, he saw photos of me traveling from city to city, smiling beside another accomplished man. His heart ached. Some mistakes, he finally understood, can never be undone. Then Jungguo's mother broke her leg back home, and he took leave to care for her. He expected relatives to help, but all had excuses. Apparently, they remembered Jungguo only when they needed money. As he cared for his mother in bed, she kept blaming him. "If you'd controlled your wife, would I be suffering now? You're a useless son. You even lost your own wife and humiliated us." Her cruel words killed the last of Jungguo's illusions. He suddenly gave a bitter laugh. "Mom, enough. Mei Li left because you constantly caused trouble. Say one more word against her and I won't take care of you again." At my new studio's opening, I stood in the spotlight and cut the ribbon to thunderous applause. Across the city, Jungguo argued with a cashier over a few cents, grocery basket in hand, all dignity gone. One choice divided our lives. He chose penny-pinching 50-50 rules. Mei Li chose independence. From then on, we belonged to different worlds. Mei Li answered the cameras with poise, her smile calm and confident. She looked toward the future, beyond every shadow. A woman blessed with strength no longer enters a home that brings only misery. She had rewritten her ending with her own hands. From now on, I'll keep my money and enjoy it myself. The words still rang clear.